Hey guys, it's Wax and Tortoise here, and today I've got a nice little recipe on how to make macarons using a Swiss meringue method. Um, as you can see, got some finished product here, and we'll talk little bit about fillings maybe later on in the video. But these ones were filled with chantilly cream and blueberry jam, so a very nice and fresh macaron taste right there. But we're going to start off by prepping baking uh, the baking trays and also your piping bag. So the piping bag is pretty much you're just going to use the circular tip. I don't know what wilted number is, but circular tip, large one, um, and insert it into your piping bag and leave it to the side. While your baking trays, ideally, and I found the best is to use silicon mats with the circle like a template already on, so you know how far to pipe on the sides. But if you can't do that, you can always use just regular silicon mats and just eyeball it, and or you can use two um, l- lines of baking paper and maybe put a template underneath so you can pipe over them and then remove the template afterwards. That's the best things. Those are what I've tried before, but I would recommend the silicon mats with the templates on there. They're the easiest, and it saves you so much time when it comes to that early prep. Now, with as with all my other recipes, you're gonna have all the ingredients in the description below, so don't feel uh, worry too much if you need to find the amounts, but we'll talk more about the method in the video. So in here we're combining the icing sugar and ground almonds in order to create I think the French word is tan mixture, but this is going to be sieved and then placed on some baking paper and left to the side. Now, after I only sieved the mixture once, which I think is good enough personally, but if you really want to be more perfectionist, you can always sieve the mixture two, three times in order to remove any larger bits, because the larger bits are what kind of like creates the rough edges in your shells to kind of, um, or if you really want to, I'd blend the mixture in a food processor and then sieve it two, three times. Personally, I think like just one time or maybe two times is enough. As you can see here, I do get quite a large amount of like chunks that don't go through this fine mesh sieve, so those extra bits you can just bin and chuck away. Um, and then yeah, that's pretty much half the ingredients sorted. Then we can move on to the next bit, which is sorting out the meringue. So as we're doing it as a Swiss meringue, it varies to an Italian and French meringue, as in the sugar and egg whites are combined, and then you whisk them together till they're solubilized and reaches a specific temperature, ideally around like 70, 72 degrees if you're just making the meringue and using it as is. But in this case, because we're going to bake it, we're only going to do it till the sugar solubilizes in the egg whites fully. So talking about the egg whites themselves, I some people prefer to age and use aged egg whites when making macarons and making the meringue for the macarons. I personally think, and since I've tried it myself, I don't see too much of a difference. It does help a little bit, but not anything major. So I don't bother. But if you do want to age egg whites, you just put them into your bowl, weigh out the amount you need, put them in your bowl, cover your bowl with some cling film, pop a hole or two in them, and put them in the fridge for a day before you start making your macarons. So it's quite nice and simple. Well, I don't do that here, as you can see. I go over the amount I need, so I'm just use the shells, which is the easiest way to like pick up any uh, excess egg whites and get to the amount that you need. So yeah, we're going to combine the sugar into the egg whites and then put them on a bain marie on the hob and whisk it till the sugar solubilizes in the it's fully solubilized in the egg white mixture, in the egg whites. Um, Now, my experience is this is around, if you have a thermometer, it's usually when it's around 40 to 45 degrees Celsius. I'm not sure what that is in Fahrenheit, but that's like one of the best tests. The other and the easiest test to do is make sure your hands are washed, dip your hands into the egg white sugar mixture, and just pull some out and rub it between your fingers and thumb. And if there's you don't feel any sugar crystals or sugar granules, you're pretty much sorted and ready to go on. Now, another thing, as you saw there, I took out some food coloring to show you. I'm going to use the blue food color for the making the meringue. You can choose whatever food color you want to get whatever desired color macarons you want. Just remember, as the meringue is white or lighter in color, if you want a darker color, you'll need to add some more, like, black and more color anyway, to get that darker emphasis. Because my blue was quite dark navy kind of blue, I would say, not super light. As I added it to the meringue, it gets much lighter in color and much more brighter. Which I'm fine with those colors, but if you wanted specific colors, you can go for that. You can also like two-tone and mix colors for your macarons by like half in the meringue mixture, doing two sets of macaronaging with two different colors, and then adding them both into the same piping bag. So then when you pipe, you get two-tone color product, which I think is quite cool. But anyway, yeah, as you can see, I've been whisking the egg whites and the sugar, and on the thermometer it's reading 40 degrees Celsius, so that's pretty much done. But just to check myself, I dip my finger and thumb in and rub some of the mixture between my hands to see if there's any sugar crystals left, which there isn't. So I know the mixture's done, and I can move on to the next bit, which then includes whipping up the meringue. Now, just wiping down the bowl, and then I leave it in the same bowl, but you can always transfer it into a different bowl if like that's not big enough, if you're making a large amount. But then you just want to whisk up the meringue, electric whisk, or if you have a stand mixer, use that. It's much easier than using your hand whisk. And you want to whisk it till it's nice and thick, kind of stiff, firmy peak, well, firm peaks ideally, and the bowl is the main thing. The bowl should be nice and lukewarm. Now, I tend to whisk it till it's thickened up a little bit, as you can see there, and then I'll add uh, my vanilla extract and my food coloring to the mixture. Um, I, that's just what I prefer. You can always add him in a little bit later on once it's reached the desired thickness, but I prefer like the mixture is a little bit warm, it's thickened up a bit, add it in then, and it sorts it out. Use a cocktail stick or the skewer sticks just to control the amount of food coloring we're adding to the meringue. But yeah, after that you keep whisking till it's done, and then we can move on to the major bit, which is where most of the problems I feel come from making macarons, which is the macaronaging step, where in macarons we've incorporated loads of air into the mixture here to form a nice stiff stable meringue, and then when we add the um, tan mixture, icing sugar and ground almonds, we want to remove that air because otherwise there's too much air within the mixture. Um, so I think that end up like puffing up too much and breaking up. So it's not, then we're trying to remove the air from the mixture and get it to just the right amount where there's enough air for it to rise, but not rise too much and break the like macaron, and there's not too little air that it won't like rise up. pretty much. So add the um, tan, like 1/3, then 2/3, and then the final third, just slowly incorporating it together. The incorporation method I use is like you use a spatula, so using a rubber spatula down the sides, as you can see there, and then twice down the middle. So that's what I prefer to do. And I found it works the best. Some people prefer to like spread out the mixture and then spread it all back in. Different methods. Some people just go down the side, whatever. Um, find what works for you, but this is what I find works well. So once it's all incorporated, then you want to make sure every now and then you check the mixture to check the consistency and see if we've reached what we're aiming for. This is probably the hardest bit because the first few times you do it, I mean, when I did it, I struggled. I couldn't get the right consistency and my macarons didn't really come out well. So what you want to aim for is the best way I would describe it is when you lift the mixture up and from your spatula and just leave it hanging to the side, it should flow nicely flow down. As you can see here, it's flowing in like drips and big blobs. That's not ideal. It should flow nicely as one continuous stream back into the bowl, and then when you leave the peaks, so the actual like the end of the stream, um it should after about like 7 seconds, 6 to 8 seconds, um like mold back into the mixture. If it stays like you see there as a solid shape, or regular shape that you can see, it's a bit too stiff. And obviously, if it folds back into the mixture too quickly, it's going to be a bit too on the thinner side. So again, as you can see here in the video, like it's a bit on the stiffer side because it's still holding the shape. So I'm still macaronaging it, and as you get closer and closer to your desired texture, um, want to do less of them, so do like just 1 or 2 macaronage, so removing air. So once around the bowl, twice in the middle, once around the bowl, twice in the middle, check it. Once around the bowl, twice in the middle, check it. Keep checking it till you get, and keep testing the mixture. Like count, 1, 2, 3, 4. Like you count out or use a stopwatch to make sure you're getting there. So as you can see, not probably not see, as you can see in the video, like my mixture's flowing well, but it's still a little bit stiff. When it's like falling in, but now on this one, as you can see, like I counted to myself, and it molds in quite well. While not like super well, it's about like 10 seconds or so here. It molds into the mixture. So I did a few more. I should have probably did a final test, but I think that's like at the right consistency. So I called it a day. And the mixture was a little bit on the stiffer side, but after wrapping and knocking out some of the air, it's fine. So you want to transfer your mixture to the piping bag, and then um, hold the piping bag like an inch or so off the circles, and I piped into just the middle one because once we wrap it, so once we knock out some of the air, they're going to spread a bit, so they're going to spread out. So if I do them to the larger circles, they're going to be really big. So I find the middle circles, if you're doing these, are like the best. So just pipe it in all out, and then quickly pull, stop piping, pull off. As you can see there, I made a little mistake, so just use a tissue to just wipe up that excess macaron. But the mixture itself's not too bad. It's a little bit stiff on the top, but it's fine. But then you want to knock out some of the air and get any excess air bubbles to rise. So just tap the baking tray against the side and keep doing that to all of them. Also, I like to just lift up and gently drop the silicon mat itself. Really make sure you get much of that air out, and this will also cause any of the top um, like bumps or whatever to make mold into the mixture and gets rid of them. But in my opinion, this batter was a little bit on the stiffer side. I should have probably done a little bit more macaronaging, but like as you can see there, after knocking out some of the air, it's all pretty decent. Then what you want to do is you use your cocktail stick just to remove any excess air bubbles, and we're going to leave the macarons to form a shell. So what that is we're just going to leave it at room temperature, uncovered, usually around half an hour, and the outer layer will start to like harden and stiffen a little bit. So to check that it's reached that consistency and it's done and it's ready for the oven, just want to use your pinky finger and just gently tap the top of the macaron, and if none of it sticks to you, then it's good to go. If it, obviously you touch it and you lift your finger, just lightly tap it. If you touch it, lift your finger and it's connected to you, it's not ready. But if you touch it, you feel a bit of stickiness, let go, but nothing attaches to your little finger and it's all fine, then it's good to go and straight into the oven it should be going. Talking about the oven, so we preheated the oven at 140 degrees Celsius, and we're going to bake these macarons. So I did 2 trays of them, 14 to 16 minutes. That's what I found works best for my oven. Personally, I did 16 minutes for the first one. I came out a bit darker, and then did 15 for the next, and it was a bit better. Now, this trick here is one of the best things I've personally read up on about. So what you want to do is, once you've taken the macarons out of the oven, you want to pour some water on like a counter to the side, and then wipe it down just so the counter is very gently damp. You're taking the macarons out of the oven, and then you want to lift the baking paper or silicon mat and put them over the dampened area, and that causes it to kind of like get shocked, so it lets the macarons very easily get off. So I always found sometimes my macarons would stick even when they were fully cooled, but after doing that, I do still get a bit of stickiness, as you can see here, but majority of them not that bad actually. They no longer stick anymore. So yeah, after doing that, leave your macarons to fully cool, and then we can match up the ones that are similar size, and they're done. And you can make your desired filling and fill them up and eat them. So that's it for the actual recipe itself. Filling ideas, different ones that work well. I would say caramel, you can do a slightly harder one or stiffer one, works well. Ganache is obviously a great one. I did a jam and cream, chantilly cream and jam. You can use like Namalaka cream or whatever mousse, peanut butter mousse. I did one of those ones once, a stiffer one. That was really nice. But yeah, the macarons themselves, the shell's nice and hard, so you can see them nicely filled, a little bit of hollowness, but not anything major, nice air bubbles. But yeah, good stuff. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, if you got any other questions, give us a shout. If not, please like, subscribe, favorite. I'll see you guys next time.